Okay, hola chicos. We are back for, our second video, which is going to discuss the sounds of letters in Spanish. So we'll talk first about vowels or vocales in Spanish, and then we'll talk about the alphabet in general. So here's the vowels in Spanish right here. You're going to notice there's 5 of them, and they're exactly the same as English. In English, they're A, E, I, O, U. In Spanish, they are A, E, I, O, U. The big difference between sounds of letters in Spanish and sounds of letters in English are that in Spanish, our vowels are very crisp and they have one sound and one sound only. In English, sometimes you'll notice that your vowels may have different sounds or they actually kind of blend in together with other sounds. For example, A in Spanish is the first letter of the alphabet, but the English equivalent is A. It's A, right? 2 sounds together almost. So, A, E, I. Do you hear the I? I. In Spanish, we don't do that. Simply A, E, I, O, U. Let's practice with A. Ana, Ana. Arriba, Arriba. So you can hear the A sound, right? E, elefante. Doesn't matter where that E is in the word, it has the same sound always. Elena. I, instrumento. Ignacio. Even at the end of Ignacio, it's I-O, right? Separate letters, not 2 sounds for one letter. O, Ofelia. Ocupado. U, Uruguay. Universidad. So those are your vowels or vocales in Spanish. So now let's talk about the alphabet in general. We're going to go through the alphabet and I'm going to explain pronunciation of the letters. Sometimes a letter, not a vowel, but maybe a consonant, can have different sounds depending on what we might call the phonetic context that it's in. For example, is it a consonant in between 2 vowels? Is it a consonant next to another certain specific consonant, right? What letter and sound combinations surround the letter and its sound? So sometimes that makes a difference in Spanish, just like it does in English, right? The word neighbor in English, for example, is pronounced nothing like the way you write it, correct? So let's get to Spanish. We have A, which, as we said before, is pronounced always A, like Ana. B, pronounced depending on where this letter is. Now, B can have 2 different pronunciations. If the B is the first letter of a word or is following a consonant, it's got a B, like lips together, B, like Benito. If the B comes between 2 vowels, whether it's 2 vowels together in a word or 2 vowels together in a phrase, the B sound is much softer. You're not going to necessarily close your lips all the way down together. Let a little bit of air come out. For example, abeja, abeja. It's not necessarily abeja, it's abeja. Okay, we have the letter se or se, two different pronunciations. If you live in any place in Latin America, basically, you are going to say se, like an SE sound. For example, cero. So that's a C in front of an E, right? If you live in Spain, most parts of Spain, not all of Spain, but most parts of Spain, that se will be pronounced the. A TH sound, for example, like think. You would say cero with a TH sound. Now, those are C's before E's, right? Here's a C before I. Latin America, cinco, with an S sound. Or in Spain, cinco, with a TH, think sound. Those are E's and I's, okay? Now, if your C is before another vowel, like Carlos. Carlos, worldwide, that's a K sound, okay? No matter where you are, that's a K sound. The next letter is de. De can have different sounds depending on where it is in a word or phrase also. You can say David. I don't know if you noticed, but those two D's have different sounds. The first D is a D. When your letter, just like with the letter B, right? With be, de, if it's starting either a word, a sentence, or a phonetic unity, basically, it's got a D sound. A D or de at the end of a word often has a the sound. David. So, listen to the difference. Da, bi. And this bid, the TH sound, is more like the. So instead of think, it's like the. David. Now, if you've got your D between two vowels, not at the end of a word necessarily, you're back to, for example, nada. You'll notice that's also a the sound. Nada. Okay. Now we have a, like we discussed up previously with our vowels, in variable pronunciation, elefante, 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 Elena, F sounds like just like in English, so that's really easy, like Felipe. Felipe, familia. And as we're going along with these examples, of course, you may not know what all of these words mean, and that's okay. We're just worried about pronunciation right now. Now, the letter G, or pronounced G in Spanish, is an interesting letter because it has quite a variety of possible phonetic contexts that can change its pronunciation. So what I mean is this word, gato, is pronounced ga, like girl, right? Gato. Kind of roughly like girl. Often in Spanish, that ga sound is not overly pronounced. It's a little bit softer. Now, if your G is in front of an E or an I, remember that the C, right, also before an E or an I, has different pronunciations. Same idea with the G, okay, with your G. Girar. So it's going to have a really hard H sound. Girar. That's with an I, or an E, Jerónimo. Or Geraldo. Those are also H sounds. So remember, G before I, G before E has a H. Sometimes when we pronounce a word, we need to separate the G from the I or the G from the E with a silent U. There's only like tiny little exceptions to the vowel pronunciation rule. For example, the word guerra, we have a silent U right here, guerra. We don't say guerra, we say guerra. That silent U, its only purpose in life is to separate the G away from the E so that you have to say a G sound instead of a Ch sound. The U is silent. Other words, for example, pingüino. Little black and white birds. With the word pingüino, we have a G-U-I combination, but we have to say the U sound. It's not pingüino, it's pingüino, like penguin, right? Pingüino. In order to voice that U between the G and the I, you put two little dots on it, and it means speak the U sound, pingüino. Okay, I know it takes a second to digest that. Let's move on to H. H is always silent. So, it's a letter, it exists. Sometimes it makes the difference between two different words in spelling, but we do not pronounce the letter. So we can say hola, right? And we don't say hola, we say hola. Okay, now I'm going to stop right here because there is a time limit for some YouTube videos. I'm going to make a little line here. We're going to stop and we'll come back for part 2, okay?